Yo, how long does it take to do a HMO project from start to finish? How long are those individual sections? And how can you speed up the time so you're not losing time on site and therefore losing money? Well, stick around in this video and I'll tell you how. So we're looking at HMO development timelines, and we're going to break them down into different stages. Now, we as a business have been doing HMOs for a long time now. We do massive amounts of volume of HMOs. We should be doing 48 HMOs in just the next year alone, which is one a week, or 250 rooms. So I don't think there's much better people to ask how long it takes to do a HMO. However, we're not perfect, so if you've got any good ideas on how you can speed up the timeline, or if you think I'm wrong in any of these areas, or if you've got some extra bits to add, then drop them in the comments below, because they'll be much appreciated, not only for me, but also for other people watching. So HMO development timelines. So we'll break it down into 6 different stages. So 6 parts. You can break it down even further if you want, but let's just keep this video relatively straightforward. You've got the sourcing part, so finding the asset initially. And really there's 2 main ways to do that. You either go to a sourcing agent. Now if you go to a sourcing agent, depends how good the sourcing agent is, you want a good one. But we are in essence a sourcing agent as well, because we offer that full stack service to our investor clients. The benefit of a sourcing agent is you can get scale. So if you want to find lots of properties quickly, then generally a good sourcing agent should always be hunting for properties. They should have all the right avenues and lines of communication with the right agents and the right salespeople within those departments, and they can find stock quite quickly and will actually have stock coming to them. So we're viewing every week. We can view up to 10 to 15 properties a week, and not all properties obviously are banging properties that we want to buy, but by the point that we're viewing a property, usually it's something that we want to buy. So we get offers out all the time, which means we can do scale, and it means that we're looking at more options than most people can feasibly look at, and we're doing it with a lot of experience and existing networks. So that's the benefit of a sourcing agent. Yeah, you have to pay a premium for it, but it could take you a lot longer to find one, and there's an opportunity cost on that, and holding capital and not getting the rent for those months that you're looking for your own property, and also quality. A good sourcing agent should also be vetting the proposition and putting together a good package or a good pitch deck. We call it a proposition document that we give to our clients that then highlights all the merits of the business case for that HMO, whether that's the rental income, the micro and macro markets around that specific property, amenities, everything to do with the location, and then the actual property itself and the title deeds. If it's an auction purchase, there could be legal packs and things like that to look through. And then what units can you get out of the building, what are the numbers on those units, end valuations, all those kind of stuff. So a sourcing agent should basically condense that whole process for you. So if you're doing it with a sourcing agent, generally you can buy properties within days. So it could be days or weeks. So let's say it takes 5 to 15 days. That's what we'll say for this, 5 to 15 days with a good sourcing agent. Now it does depend on requirements, it does depend on market dynamics. Of course, that could be a little bit longer, but we've had investors come to us through social media. There's an investor that's come to us before we've said anything to them. They've just watched our content, come to us and gone, I'd love to enroll in your service. We then onboard them with a discovery call, and then after that, we'll find them a property. We've had the same day acquisitions before. I say acquisitions, but as in they have transacted with us and signed our sourcing management agreement and then gone to memos on a property. Same day. Someone's come to us and the same day they had a call, that same day they've taken on a property and it's gone to memos of sale the next day. It's usually 24 hours, 48 hours to get the memos of sale. So we've done it earlier than this, but it can take longer as well because it just depends. There might not be the stock there, or your specific requirements for finding a property might be different. We have a client that wants something right next to a metro. They just want it near a metro. That's their main requirement, and they want a nice square, straightforward building. Now, if they want that, which is fair enough, it can take us a little bit longer because we've got to now find a unique property. So the more refined your requirements, the longer it's going to take, and that's money left on the table. So I would always say, if you're engaging with a sourcing agent, just trust their instinct. If they're good at what they do, just trust them. If they bring you a property, you're just looking at the investment merits. You're going to get better returns than you will in a bank. Bang it, buy the deal. And that's sourcing agents, so that's a quicker way of doing it. Then there's on the market. So then there's basically do it yourself. So DIY. Doing it yourself. Now, it depends on your experience level, depends on your existing rapport with local agents, with the local market. Where are you looking for properties? You're going all over the place. Are you looking just in one particular town or one particular city? And this whole video really for each stage could be a how long's a piece of string. So what we're really looking at is not only a 6-bed HMO, so we're looking at a 6-bed HMO for this whole process. So we're cutting out planning just because that can add a whole nother vertical. But without planning, 6-bed, permitted development HMO, how long does it take? So on a DIY, you're looking for a 3-bed terrace pretty much. Could be a 3-bed semi. It could be something else, could be a flat. But yeah, you're looking for something like that. A lot of that stock is usually readily available on the market. Just, is it in the right location? Is it at the right price? What's the condition of the property like? What's the title deeds like? You know, is it non-possessory title? Is it an auction purchase with a dodgy auctioneer? There could be all kinds of things in the way of you actually getting that property, let alone market competition and other other buyers. So generally, you could be looking at viewing anywhere from 10 at the lowest, 10 to maybe 50 properties. And that depends on your starting point. So 10 to 50 properties. How long will it take you to view 10 to 50 properties? You've got to think about it. Again, depends where you're looking and what you're doing. If you're like us, when we started out where we lived in London, and we were investing right at the top end of the country in the northeast, which means we were doing a 5-hour trip to go and view property. So I used to book out about 10 or 12 viewings a day. And most of the time, a few of those viewings would drop out. And that's actually why I booked 10 or 12, because I knew that some would drop out, or I'd just cancel if I couldn't make it. But at least I was making the most of my 10-hour round trip. And I just view loads. And some weeks I'd just go up and they just couldn't get the properties. And it could take me many, many weeks of doing that until we eventually got one. And then you get another, then you get another, and you build rapport, and it can come a bit quicker, a bit easier. But yeah, 10 to 50, you got all the commuting time to actually view those properties. So you probably do 10 in a day. Let's say conservatively, you could do 5 to 7 in a day. Then how long would it take you to view them? But also, how readily available are the agents to host those kind of viewings? You then got to arrange the time slots with those agents. And then is it a block viewing day and there's loads of competitive interest in that property and you might not even win the property? So there's so many variables to actually securing the site, which is why most people just resort to a sourcing agent, because it's just so much easier. These people are doing that groundwork for you. But if you do it yourself, then 10 to 50, conservatively, it could take you months. Then you could do it in weeks, but it depends on your experience, because there's a lot of question marks that you want to answer when acquiring a property, when securing it. You don't just want to go, yeah, you get 6 beds in here, fucking sweet, yeah, put it in. You want to know loads about the property and that specific area and understand your values. And, is it restricted areas, Article 4? There could be so many things about the property that you really need time to do DD. And if there's competition in your area or in that market or around that HMO, then that could take even longer. So let's say, conservatively, it's going to take you about 2 to 4 months. The reason I've put 2 to 4 is because if you've got experience, 2 months should be able to get that done in. If you don't have any experience, then you could deliberate for a while and it might take you up to 4 months. I know people who really wanted HMOs for years and still not got one because they don't want to pay a sourcing agent and they want to do it themselves, but they just don't really have the time. And when they go out and look at them, they haven't got the confidence to go and do it. Which is another good thing a sourcing agent can bring, a bit of conviction behind the sale. Someone's doing that work for you and kind of lifting that finger for you. So that can help. Generally, if you go for a sourcing agent, you should be getting that wrapped up in about 2 weeks. Can take 4 weeks, but it can also be the same day, like we've done before. If it's DIY, then yeah, sure, you could do it in a few weeks, depending on your experience, because you may be a sourcing agent yourself, therefore you can probably pick your own stock, which is nice and quick. Or it could take you up to 4 months. And I'd say 3 months is probably a fair medium for any of you watching this who don't have a lot of experience in HMOs yet and you want to get into HMOs, you can assume it's going to take you about 3 months. So yeah, that is finding the properties. That's the sourcing part. Now we're looking at the boring part, conveyancing. So how long it takes to go through the legal process and actually acquiring a HMO. So nice and quick, we'll go, first option is auction. So 28 to 56 days is typically what it's going to take you to go for an auction purchase. Now they can be 14 days and they can be 7 days in special circumstances, but they're far and few between, so you don't have to worry about those. 28 to 56 days is generally what an auction should be. And if it is 28 days, but you want 56, then when you're putting in your offer, make sure you secure the 56. Or say, my offer is subject to 56 days. Even if the contract says 28 when it's advertised, you can change that to 56 upon successfully securing the property. But the vendor has to agree that, and you have to make sure you get it back in writing off of the agent. It has to be in writing. Otherwise, oh, who said it's 56 days? And then you secure it and you've got 28 days to complete. So make sure you secure it 56 days. So that's the auction process. The conveyancing is conditioned to 28 to 56 days. So you have to get it done in that time. Generally, you want to be buying these cash if you're doing it that way. But if you've got experience, you can use a bridge as well, that's fine. So number 2, the other way to do it is just standard purchase. That's all that is. And you can do that in 2 months. A standard purchase should go through in 2 months. I mean, really, in the world of AI and advanced technology, this stuff should be minutes, but yeah, so that's another video. You can check out the AI video if you want to see me rant about property and how slow it is and how AI can fix it all. But anyway, standard, you're going to be looking at anywhere from 2 to 4 months. That is going to be the standard process there. However, we have recently done one, standard sale, and it went through in 5 weeks. So there are exceptions to the norm, but we also know what we're doing and we're on top of our solicitors and we're quick through the inquiry process. So again, it helps when you've got people doing work for you. Let's save you time. So you can save time on this, but generally speaking, allow for 2 to 4 months for a standard sale. You should be banging that in 2, 3 max. So let's say 3 months. 3 months for standard sale, 28 to 56 days for an auction sale. There are, of course, many other ways to do things. You can have option agreements and all kinds of other stuff, or delayed purchase considerations to actually change these timelines, but too complicated for this video, so we're not going to think about that. Pre-con, so that's pre-construction. So before you start pulling the building apart and doing the works and spending money on the construction, what do you need to do pre-construction? There's quite a lot of bits to do. You've got things like surveys, so initial surveys. So this bit here is you bought the property, now you've got the keys. Now you can overlap the pre-construction with the conveyancing, and that's exactly what we do as a business. Our Our target for our clients is that once we've got the keys, we are prepared to go on site. That's what we like to do. However, there are contingencies to that because sometimes you need an intrusive survey done to really establish the construction aspects and what's required to deliver the scheme and also the cost implications of those aspects. And you need an intrusive survey to do so, which means you need to pull apart walls and other bits and bobs. And if you're going to do that and you don't have legal ownership, but it's not in the existing vendor's best interests to allow you to start damaging their asset and degrading its value. So typically you can't do that until you've bought it and got keys. So in some circumstances, we have to make sure we've got the keys first, and then we can finalize our last construction surveys. But let's say you don't overlap it the way we do, because most contractors won't do that. Most contractors, before you own it, won't come and visit a site and give you a full cost breakdown and a survey and stuff like that, because you might not finish the purchase and you've wasted their time. So we have construction in-house, so we make sure our pipeline's fulfilled and we make sure that we're pulling in timeline as much as possible. How can we squeeze down timelines? It's not easy, it's very difficult, but you can do that by overlapping with the conveyancing process. But if you're using another contractor, it might not be the easiest thing to do because they just don't want to spend too much time on something that you don't even own yet. So there's that to think about. But once you're on site, you then need the surveys. So let's assume you do it all after. Because you can also get your measured surveys before. So there's other ways to overlap them. But you need to get a measured survey of the building. You need to know the size of the property and the configuration of the room so you can then reconfigure it to your HMO. And then you've got those plans to give to your contractor to then do the proper site survey to see what remedial works are required to the property inherently, like what's just needed to make sure that building's safe, but then also to then actually deliver the scheme that you're looking for. And you need the plans to do that. So there's plans to do. So you've got the surveys for the measure. So that's a measured survey. And then you've also got a survey for the construction. And you may have other surveys as well. It really depends. But again, we're talking about a 6-bed HMO. You shouldn't really need more than this. I know people like to get structural surveys. And look, that's completely up to you. We don't do that because we're a contractor and we can see what needs to be done to that property. We'll work with building control to make sure it's all safe and sound anyway. But you can pay for more surveys, but generally building condition surveys end up leading to more and more surveys, and up spending cost and cost and cost. And usually the best arbiter for how to fix a property is a contractor. So why not go straight to the source? That's what we do anyway. And then step 2, after you've done that, is to actually get your designs done. Now your designs could consist of many things, from floor plans and just the actual basic design feasibility for the scheme, to structural designs, because you may be putting in a new floor, taking out chimney press, putting galley brackets in, lintels, all kinds of stuff. And you've got to make sure that you've got a structural engineer designing that stuff for you, and the architect designing the actual spec for the scheme. So you're gonna have all your building control specifications and everything else. We do quite a lot of that in-house. On the larger schemes now, you do need an architect to do it. So if you're looking at sui generis HMOs, make sure you have a principal designer, make sure you have an architect that is speccing your regs package. But if you're a 6-bed HMO, you can be under that threshold. So designs, you then got the design process. What else? And then the costings. So BOQ is what you're looking for from your contractor. A lot of them aren't going to do that because they just won't have the resources to do it on these kind of small projects. We do have the resources to do that because we've got volume and we have a QS. It means we can get a BOQ done for each job. And a BOQ is a bill of quantities. So it's an itemized breakdown of the different parts of the works throughout the construction process. And that should be produced back to back with the designs and a scope of works. Scope of works is then a description of all the works required. That's then a fiscal breakdown of the works required. And then you've got your designs, which outlines the desired floor plan from the existing. And you need to get all of that done really before your boots on ground. Again, you can overlap things. So we sometimes overlap things by doing the strip out first and basic stuff that we know needs to be done before needing to engage building control and other bits. So again, you can pull timelines down. That's what we're always trying to do. But if you want to keep it nice and safe and straightforward, then wait till you've got all of this done first before you get boots on the ground. So how long does all this take? Well, again, if you're not overlapping it with a conveyancing timeline, I mean, all those surveys, so the measured survey, the construction survey, and then getting the feedback back off of those, let's say that takes 10 days. 10 days to get that stuff sorted. The designs could take 2 weeks. I know we're measuring different units here. It's quite annoying for you watching, sorry. And then the bill of quants, again, I'd go 2 weeks. But just bear in mind, most contractors just aren't going to have the capacity to do that in-house. They're probably just going to give you a back of a fag packet quote, which is how we started, you know, when we used to engage contractors from the development side of the fence. We used to just accept that they ain't got the resource to break that down on how much screws, how much labor duration per item and things like that. They're just going to go, first fix is about 5 grand, first fix electrics, and then they're just going to move on and move on and move on. So don't expect anything great from this, but you should still be getting a 2-week turnaround, and try and push them to get an itemized breakdown. You want an itemized breakdown regardless, even if it is a bit finger in the sky. So 10 days for the survey, 2 weeks for the design, about 2 weeks for the BOQ. So really, you're talking about a 4-week process here, which is why we try to overlap it with the conveyancing. Now, some of this can be overlapped in and of itself, so you might be able to get it down to about 3 weeks, but let's say 4 weeks to get your pre-construction done, everything agreed with the contractor, the architect, everyone's set and ready to go. Then you've got the construction process itself. itself, I mean, I could go into a whole load of different things here, but 6-bed HMO again is what we're talking about. We're assuming it's sort of a medium refurb with a loft conversion. So I just say that's a 4-month project. Should be getting that kind of stuff done in 4 months. Could maybe be a bit quicker, but I'd say 4 months is what you want to be ballparking, 5 months worst case. But again, when you're plotting down these durations, especially when you're correlating that with what's the financial feasibility of the scheme, what's the business case for the scheme, be conservative on this. So if you're told it's going to take 4, put 5 and assume that your financing costs are going to be based on 5 months for this item, and do that for the rest of the items as well. Be conservative, because otherwise it will screw you on the back end when, especially if you're getting bridging finance or anything like that, and that interest is rolling up and you're getting closer and closer to penalties with your bridging. So you want to have contingencies layered in. But yeah, how long's a piece of string when it comes to construction of a HMO? Because we're talking specifically about 6-bed HMO with a loft conversion, pretty straightforward. Pull the breasts out, maybe slightly back to brick. I'd say 4 months, you should be able to get that done in. But equally, if you're doing a large 10-bed, you know, it could be 7-8 months. The 8 months starts to take the piss a bit on a HMO, really, because if it's more work, it doesn't necessarily mean that's a pro rata amount more on the duration. It just means that you might need more lads on site and a bit more of a dense site of operatives. Then you should be able to keep those durations brought down. But you also can't load some of these terraces with too many lads. So sometimes a contractor, especially a small contractor, may not want to put too many lads on one site, because you actually get unproductivity by doing that. Trades get on top of each other. A lot of waste can come off site and it can cost you more money. Even though you might think it's going to cost you less because it's quicker, it actually will cost you more. The eternal triangle of quality, time and money. You can't have all three, so pick the 2 that you want the most. So yeah, 4 months for the construction. And there's things you can do to keep on top of this. You can bring in a monitoring surveyor that can work on for your interests, and that keeps an eye on the amounts claimed per week by the contractor, or per month, depends on your payment plans. And they can keep an eye for you on how much and how long items are taking, to keep accountability with the contractor. Or you can just do it yourself and just go to site and make sure you're checking on things and have a percentage against each item of work. And then you can mark that off each week and see how much of work's actually getting done. Obviously, the more experience you've got in construction, the better you'll be at that task. But that's construction. Assume about 4 months. Then there's the handover. So the handover, what does that mean? So once the construction's coming to an end and you're getting certifications and the furniture's about to come in, well, you then need to start prepping the handover to a letting agent to be at the property. So to do that, you need your construction certifications, which is your electric, your gas, and other bits and bobs depending on the HMO. And then you need your EPCs, FRAs, and other bits that are more on the letting agent side, or your side, depends who's doing it. In our business, we do everything for our clients, so we actually pass it on to the lettings department rather than the construction department. And then you got to submit for your HMO license. You can lawfully let a HMO without the license in hand, just with the submission confirmation. So as long as you've submitted the license, you can let it. At least that's the standards right now as I'm speaking in 2024 June. That's what you can do right now. So you've got number 1, certifications. So you might be practically complete on site, and believe me, this happens all the time, and it still happens in our business because we're reliant on third parties. Certifications, you've got the certifications from the contractor, and you need these things signed off before you can legally let it. And sometimes this can just drag and drag and drag and drag and drag. You need the electrician to come in and sign off, you need the boiler man to come in and sign off the gas, you need this and that. So you want to keep on top of this, and it's all a part of that handover package. So as it's coming to practical completion, make sure you're on top of your contractor and make sure you know that these certifications are coming in. And as the certifications are coming in, then you know, as the furniture drops in and you get your last builder's clean, it's ready to hand to the letting agents. And once it's ready to hand to the letting agents, there's then another process, which is consult lettings. So it's bringing them to the property, showing them around, giving them the tour of the building, showing them how everything works, because they need to know how everything works so they can then induct the tenants. So there's a handover process there where you're giving them the keys to the property, giving them almost the ownership of the property. They're going to look after it for you. And they need the certifications. Ideally, they need fire management plans, so like a floor plan that shows the fire routes and things like that. All kinds of other stuff as well, EPCs, fire logs, loads of other stuff that then gets handed to the letting agent. In that process, you'd be surprised how much that can drag out, because you also got to make sure the contractor snagged the building. You might then test the systems post practical completion, and then there's a leak. If there's a leak, well, there's another week. It will just disappear like that. Or what if one of your certification guys doesn't turn up? The gas guy's meant to come and the van's broke down, mate, and I'm not there till next week. There's another week. And it can just drag and drag and drag. So you really want to be on top of this process to get the handover right. And we, even internally as a business, still struggle with this process because it's reliant on so many third parties. We're always trying to perfect it and get it better and better and better. When you're reliant on other people with different incentives, it can be tricky, which is why we've tried to bring everything in-house, because at least we can control the construction part and the lettings part. With these third parties in between, sometimes you just can't pin them down. But generally here, what timelines can you expect? Again, you can overlap some parts of this, but really you're looking at 2 weeks. If you can get it done in 2 weeks, great. Sometimes it just drags and drags and drags. And you can get to 8 weeks quite quickly with a property that's practically complete. Contractors haven't been there for 8 weeks. weeks, but you've still not let the thing because there's just this and that and this and that that's taken time. So I'd say 2 weeks is where you want to get it done in, but assume sometimes it can take 4. And anyone who's done a lot of property refurbs, especially HMOs, where there's a lot of infrastructure in the building, a lot of systems that can go wrong, as in just physical systems, then these things can drag really quick. Snagging can drag out for weeks and weeks and weeks if it's just not a good build. So yeah, 2 to 4 weeks on the handover with the lettings, and then they've obviously got to let the property. So we assume that that then runs in tandem with your refinancing. So refinance is the last stage. Now you can do that, again, you can overlap this as well if you want, but I would always say to have a benchmark in your head, don't let the value come and value the building until you at least have an idea on what your tenancy values are going to be. So what your rental value is going to be. Ideally, you want at least a few rooms let. 3 rooms would be great. If you have 3 rooms let, then the value will struggle to contest the value that you can achieve from the scheme, and that can be one of the biggest drawbacks in a valuation report. They say, great property, yeah, this and that and this and that. Your occupancy rates would be good, but I think you're only going to get 300 quid for those rooms because I've looked at some social housing ones around the corner and that's all they got. Well, that's not a good comparison, and you don't want to fall shy of that. So I would let a few rooms first and then get the value around. That doesn't mean you can't go to market with it. So you can go to market, which is basically going through a broker to start tendering out to find you a mortgage product. You can do that whilst you're getting that practical completion. So once you know you're a week or 2 away from getting all your certifications and your sign-offs, then go to market with the numbers you've got, with your forecasts, and start to get a broker to look for the product for you. And once you start looking for the products, then you're going to go back and forth on a few other bits, collect all the information you need to hand over to the broker, and then by the time you're in that handover stage, then you want to book the valuer. Book the valuer to come in. Ideally, you've got some rooms let already, and that valuer, usually they'll take 2 to 3 weeks from instructions, then come to site, and then about a week to 10 days to issue the report once they've hit the site. And in that time, you can commence legals, so legals can start the process, but obviously if you do pull the trigger on the legals before you've had the value report back, or if we get down valued, well then you may have wasted some legal costs as well. So you want to think about how you stagger things there, and then it's going to go to legals, and legals can just be, in this market, how long's a fucking piece of string? They're just shit at the moment. Lenders, solicitors are just taking forever. They're just taking forever. And it's been a turbulent market, so I don't actually blame them that much, other than there is just sheer incompetencies from these banks. But they use a lot of panel solicitors and junior underwriters and things like that, and they just take a while. And they tick box exercise, and if a box isn't ticked, it gets put to the back of the list and it gets looked at again in a month's time. But that's the legal process, and all of this here, there's a lot of other stuff in here. And I, by the way, have a course. It's called the HMO Masterclass. You can find it in the video description, and it explains every part of this in thorough detail, so you can really understand how to expedite your projects, make them quicker, make them more efficient, manage them properly. But anyway, that's a little plug, shameless plug, description below, check it out. And this process here, really, you're looking at 3 months. You're looking at 3 months to refinance a scheme, from submitting for the application to getting the money in your bank account. And again, we've had that take 9 months before, so it can just be a long time. I've never had anything take less than 3 months, so you don't really win on time there, but 3 months at least can take longer. Now, for the summary, we're going to go through those 6 points again, and just to give you a total idea on how long it's going to take you start to finish for a HMO project. And this is you doing it yourself, doing it with people like us or other agents or other kinds of sourcing and project management development services or whatever they are. They should be able to do it quicker because they've gone through the ring of this process many times and found the arbitrage and gaps and spaces, how you can overlap things and get things to be quicker. So sourcing, you're looking at 2 months. You can get it done in 2 months and find a good project for a 6-bed HMO and secure it for a good price, a good location. 2 months would be pretty good doing. So 2 months. And then the conveyancing, again, let's assume, even if it is auction, you get 56 days, which you should always try and get anyway, gives you a buffer, a little contingent buffer. But let's say that's also going to take you 2 months. And then pre-construction, that's 1 month. And then construction itself should take 4 months. And then the handover process, I hate to say it, but 1 month. And I know that sounds ridiculous to let a property. You'll be surprised how many things go wrong with these things once they're finished. Is that Kane? Hey, Kane, you can talk about this with me on this last bit. We're talking about the handover from construction to lettings. It's not as easy as it looks, is it?
Shit, that's what it is.
It's not easy. It's not easy for a load of reasons that aren't necessarily because your contractor's bad, or, well, usually it is down to stuff that happens on site that delays things, but also your boiler man might not show up on time. Your council might be causing you grief. Your lender might be not giving you that last drawdown that you need to pay off the contractor, therefore the contractor's holding back a bit of the work, and there can be so many things that get in the way of that handover process, or your letting agent just being incompetent and not showing up to come and do the initial induction, or just not getting on the market quick enough or taking bad photos, and you go, those photos are shit, you don't even have a dress kit on the bed. So there can be so many things that get in the way from your construction to your lettings. But
yeah, I'll elaborate on that as well. It's what we've implemented for our lessons learned throughout these projects. We constantly iterate and review ourselves. Is each phase of works now gets signed off through a sequential process of works. Obviously, Ryan explained this previously, but each phase of works, before boarding in, pressurised full water system. After the first fix, we make sure that the electric circuits are all reading each other and it's in the circuit how it's meant to be. And when we come to boarding, do the second fix. In theory, there's no leaks behind the walls. Ideally, on the decorated stage, that's your final snag effect. If we do that phase right, and as they're going out of each room, our suit foreman on the site will then just tick each room off, doors shut, don't go back in.
Because the letting agents feel all the grief for this, and obviously tenants as well, who might be in there and there's a leak or the roof's leaking or something happens. And hello, sir. We've got someone else joining. It's fucking busy in here today.
I always say it's longer.
We've got, all right, someone. It's good having you there, mate. Thanks for the feature. Yeah, that was off the cuff, but there you go. Kane came straight in and immediately went, yeah, fucking hell, handover. The handover is difficult. It's not difficult technically. It's just to go, yeah, we'll get that handover done in a week is optimistic. It should take a week, but you just don't know. So just assume a month for the handover, but that can be somewhat overlapped with your certifications and everything else. And then you got the refinance, which is just a straight 3 months. And even then, I would say that's conservative. So in the totality of duration required, you got 2, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 months. And I think that's actually probably a bit quick if you're starting out. You're probably going to take an 18-month turnaround, but you should, if you do it well, if you're aggressive, you should be able to get it done in 12 to 13 months. So let's put 12 to 18 months. And I know you might think that sounds like a long time for a HMO project. But once you've added all those things up from finding the property, this is finding the property, to the conveyancing, and so here you're relying on loads of market conditions and loads of other kinds of things and competition in the market and how much time you have to go and view properties and negotiate property deals and things like that. And then there's the conveyancing, which is down to loads of solicitors. Does the vendor have a good solicitor? It depends what kind of conveyancing it is, if it's auction, if it's off the market, whatever it is. And there's the pre-construction, which again depends on the competency of the professionals you employ around you and how quick you can get access to the property and things like that. Construction, obviously myriad. It's like opening a Pandora's box. There's so many things that can happen that could affect that duration. Handover, like I've said, there's things that can affect that duration as well. And the refinance, which can just be the biggest ball ache of them all. It's not technically difficult. It's just, it can be a bang in your head against the brick wall many times non-stop and you don't get anywhere, which can be very annoying. So 12 to 18 months, conservatively, for your first HMO project is probably what you should think of, unless you get good enough training. And I know that just sounds like a plug your training course, here's a training course, but it's serious. Like if you don't understand how these things interact and what to do and what procedures and what things to sign off, then of course it's going to take you longer than someone who's well equipped with that knowledge. So get yourself genned up if you want to take this stuff seriously, and you will then be able to bring down the duration and bring down mistakes and costs. Because duration is also cost. In property development, if something takes longer, it's costing you money. It's costing you money either in just money, or it's costing you money in opportunity cost, like rental income and things like that. So we typically can get these down to about 9 months. So about 9 months end to end. But even then, sometimes for us, it takes about 12 months as well. But for you, I'd say 12 to 18 is probably where you're going to land in and out on your first deal. You can do it quicker. You really can do it quicker, but a lot of things have to go your way, and luck is a huge part of getting all this right, like just luck in some of the timings of things, and also market dynamics. What if interest rates shoot up again when you're about to exit? Well, you might not then refinance it. You might just hold it, or hold the bridge, or defer the bridge. So anyway, plenty of things, lots of stuff to think about. Now, if you're an investor, we run a full stack development service for our clients, where we go out and do this exact process. We do everything from sourcing and acquisitions to the consultative stage of how the projects work, to the construction, to the lettings. It's all in-house under our one umbrella. If you're interested, then hit us up at info@boypartners.co.uk or check out the website in the description below. And that's me for this video. I hope this has been useful to any of you out there trying to understand how long it takes to do some of these projects, and that should give you a good idea. Anyway, drop me a comment for any other kind of videos you want me to talk about. I'm happy to do anything. Every Wednesday, I'll be releasing these types of videos, and every Sunday we release a vlog. So big love, drop a comment, subscribe, like it. See you in the next one.